Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the origins of human creativity.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, it is. And you've given us a really interesting mix of sources for this one. Research papers, articles about AI art, even some things on animal behavior.
It's going to be fun to see how those all connect.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the journey.
It really is. You know, it's amazing how much our understanding of creativity has changed.
How so?
Well, we used to think that art and symbolic thinking, all that stuff, were pretty recent developments in human history.
Right.
Like something that just popped up in Europe.
Okay. Yeah.
But new discoveries in Africa are really pushing that timeline way back.
Okay, so we're talking about evidence of creativity even older than those famous cave paintings in Europe.
Exactly, way older. For example, in Blumbo's cave in South Africa, archaeologists found a piece of ochre.
Ochre?
Yeah, it's a natural pigment, like a kind of earthy paint. And this piece is over 77,000 years old.
Wow.
I know, right? And it has these deliberate zigzag patterns etched onto it.
So someone way back then took the time to make those markings. That's incredible. What does that tell us about them? Like, what were they thinking?
Well, it definitely suggests they weren't just focused on basic survival,
Right.
They had the capacity for abstract thought, for creating patterns, and maybe even symbols, and it's not the only example.
Hey, really?
Yeah. They've also found ostrich eggshell beads in Kenya.
Beads.
Yeah, beads. They're over 30,000 years old. And they suggest a more complex social world than we might have imagined.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Personal adornment, maybe even trade.
That's fascinating. It's like we're getting these little glimpses into the minds of these early humans,
I know, it's really cool.
using materials from their world to express something more than just practical needs.
Right, and all of this challenges that old idea of a sudden creative explosion in humans.
Like we just suddenly became creative.
Yeah. It seems a lot more likely that creativity was a gradual development, with these early sparks eventually leading to the more elaborate forms of art we see later on.
So we've got these early examples of ochre markings and beads. What happened next? How do we get from that to those incredible cave paintings?
Well, it's likely there was a progression. Before those cave paintings, humans were already decorating their bodies with pigments and wearing beads.
Right.
And there could have been so many reasons for that. Maybe camouflage, maybe social signaling, maybe even just because they liked how it looked.
So like the first fashion statements.
Exactly, the first forms of self-expression. And from there, we see patterns emerging as a distinct art form.
Okay, interesting.
Some researchers think these patterns were inspired by entoptic phenomena.
Entoptic phenomena.
It's a mouthful, right? Basically, it refers to visual effects created by our own eyes and brains, like those swirling patterns you might see if you close your eyes really tight.
Oh yeah, okay, I see. So our own biology could have influenced the very first art forms.
It's a pretty compelling theory. And as humans continued to experiment with patterns and designs, they started to move beyond just modifying natural objects. They began creating images on blank surfaces, like cave walls.
That's a huge step.
It was. It meant they could hold an image in their mind and then translate it onto a surface.
That takes serious imagination.
Exactly. It's like the difference between tracing something and drawing it from memory. And that brings us closer to the period we call the Upper Paleolithic, when artistic expression really took off.
Yeah, the Upper Paleolithic was an amazing time for art. You see those incredible cave paintings in Europe, the carvings, the sculptures. It's like this burst of creative energy.
It really does make you wonder what caused that. What could have driven such a big change?
Well, there are a few theories floating around out there. One is that fully syntactic language developed around that time.
Meaning
humans could form those complex sentences with grammar, allowed for much more sophisticated communication than before.
Oh, I see. And that would tie into creativity how?
Well, think about it. With language, you can share stories, pass down knowledge, and think in more abstract ways.
So language wasn't just for practical stuff. It was about ideas and experiences and maybe even new ways of thinking. Exactly. And there's this other interesting idea called cognitive fluidity.
Cognitive fluidity. That sounds complicated.
It's actually pretty simple. It's the ability to connect different parts of the brain that might have been separate before.
Okay, I think I'm following you. So if you could suddenly combine your knowledge of plants with your understanding of animal behavior and your skill in tool making.
Yeah, that kind of cross-domain thinking could have led to all sorts of creative breakthroughs. Like, those aha moments when you connect to seemingly unrelated things.
And suddenly you have a whole new perspective.
Exactly. It's like that. And there's also the idea that play had a role in all of this.
play, like kids playing.
Yeah, play is important for cognitive development, not just in humans, but in lots of animals.
Interesting. So how does that tie into creativity?
When kids play, they experiment, they try out different roles, and they use their imaginations. It's like practice for real life, but with more freedom.
So those kids building forts and making up stories are actually honing skills that go way back in our evolution.
Exactly. And speaking of evolution, that brings us to another question. Did creativity give early humans a survival advantage?
Well, we talked about how art could have helped with social bonding and communication. But could it have helped them survive in a more direct way?
Some researchers think so. There's a theory from Jeffrey Miller that suggests creativity might have been sexually selected.
Hold on, so you're saying art and creativity were like a peacock's tail, a way to attract mates and show off.
That's the basic idea. Those intricate cave paintings would have taken real skill and planning, maybe even some risk-taking. Those qualities might have signaled good genes and the ability to provide.
It's a really interesting theory. But maybe creativity also helps strengthen those groups, not just attracting mates.
Absolutely. Imagine early humans around a fire, sharing stories and songs and dances. Those shared creative experiences would have created a sense of community.
Making the group stronger and more resilient.
Right. So creativity wasn't just about individual expression, it was also about building social connections. And that was crucial for survival. But stepping back for a second, is human creativity unique? Or do we see it in other animals?
That's a great question. I mean, we've talked about humans a lot, but what about the rest of the animal kingdom?
It's a question that really makes you think about what it means to be human. And you know what? We do see glimpses of creativity in animals, especially in how they communicate.
Can you give us an example?
Sure, take birdsong. You might think it's all instinct, but a lot of birds learn their songs from each other.
Really?
Yeah. And those songs can actually evolve over time.
So it's like they have their own musical traditions.
In a way, yeah. And it's not just birds. Humpback whales have these incredibly complex songs that change really fast.
Wow, I had no idea.
New song types can spread across whole whale populations, almost like trends, you know?
It's amazing to think about all that happening under the ocean, this whole world of creativity we don't even see.
It is. But here's the thing. How do we know this is creativity? Are animals intentionally trying to be innovative?
That's a tough one. We can't exactly ask a whale for its artistic statement.
Right. But what researchers look for are behaviors that are flexible and adaptable and that go beyond just instinct.
So it's about seeing those moments when an animal does something unexpected, something that shows ingenuity.
Exactly. And those moments might give us some clues about where human creativity came from.
That's a great segue into something that everyone's talking about these days, AI. How is artificial intelligence changing the creative landscape? We see AI making music art, even writing poetry. What does this all mean for human artists?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's important to remember that AI is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used in different ways.
Right.
Some people are worried that AI will replace human artists, but I think it's more likely that AI will become a partner in the creative process.
So instead of being afraid of AI as competition, we should think of it as a collaborator.
Exactly. AI can help us explore new ideas, try out different styles, and even push the boundaries of what we consider art. But it's still humans who are guiding the process, bringing their own unique perspectives to the table.
So AI can generate those impressive technical feats, but it's that human touch, the emotional depth, that really connects with us.
That's a great point. And it leads to another interesting question. How does AI learn to be creative? It doesn't have its own imagination, does it?
Right. AI doesn't experience the world the way we do. So how does it learn to create things that we find beautiful or moving or thought-provoking?
Most AI systems that create things are trained on these huge data sets of human-made art, music, literature, all that stuff.
Right.
And they analyze patterns, structures, and stylistic elements. Basically, they learn the rules of different creative areas.
So it's like AI is studying the great masters just like a human artist would.
Precisely. But then AI takes it further. It can bend or break those rules or combine them in ways that humans might not think of.
Wow. So AI is opening up new creative possibilities that we didn't even know existed.
It is. It's both exciting and a little bit unsettling, isn't it?
It is. I mean, if AI can do all that, What happens to human creativity?
It's a question that's causing a lot of debate right now. There are so many different opinions. Some people are excited about AI democratizing creativity, making it possible for anyone to express themselves artistically regardless of skill level.
That's a really interesting point. So it's not just for the experts anymore.
Right. But others are concerned that AI will devalue human creativity, make it seem less special.
It's like we're at this crossroads trying to figure out where to go from here.
Exactly. And there are no easy answers. But one thing is clear. AI is already having a big impact on how we create, consume, and think about art.
So it's not about AI replacing human creativity. It's about figuring out how to adapt to this new creative world and how to use AI to enhance our own creative potential.
That's a great way to put it. And it brings us back to a main theme of this whole deep dive. The fact that creativity itself is always evolving.
From those first ochre markings to AI-generated art, it's this constant thread of human ingenuity.
It is a drive to express ourselves and explore new things.
And it goes even further than just us. The birds with their evolving songs, the whales with their complex communication, it's all part of this bigger story about creativity woven into life itself. It really is amazing to think about all these different forms of creativity, from those early ochre markings to AI-generated art and even bird song and whale song. It makes you wonder what other kinds of creativity are out there that we haven't even discovered yet.
I know, it's incredible. And as we explore more of the universe, who knows what amazing creative expressions we might find on other planets or even in other galaxies.
That's a pretty mind-blowing thought. But for now, let's bring it back down to Earth and talk about how this partnership between humans and AI is actually playing out.
Well, one area where we're seeing a real impact is in design.
Design? How so?
Architects are using AI to come up with building designs that are not just functional, but also beautiful. AI can help them explore all these different possibilities and take things into account like energy efficiency, sustainability, even how the building fits into the surrounding environment.
So it's like AI is giving architects the superpower to create structures that are both beautiful and good for the planet.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just architecture. Fashion designers are using AI to create new patterns and styles. Product designers are using it to make things more functional and comfortable. Even urban planners are using AI to design cities that are more efficient, livable, and sustainable.
It's amazing to see how AI is pushing the boundaries of design in so many different areas. But does this mean that human designers are becoming obsolete?
I don't think so. Remember, AI is a tool. It's like a really advanced paintbrush or a digital sculpting knife. It can help us create things that we might not have been able to on our own, but it's still up to us to make the creative decisions and bring our own vision and artistry to the table.
So it's more about AI empowering human designers to do even more incredible things.
Exactly. And I think that applies to creativity as a whole. AI can be this amazing partner helping us explore new ideas, experiment with styles, and push the boundaries of what we thought was possible. But it's still up to us humans to bring the heart and soul and meaning to the creative process.
I see what you mean. AI can create things that are technically impressive, but it's the human touch that gives art its emotional depth and makes it resonate with us.
Right. And that brings us to another interesting question. How is AI changing how we define and value creativity itself? In the past, creativity was often seen as something you were born with a talent that some people had and others didn't.
There's like this magical gift that only a lucky few possessed.
Exactly. But with AI creating things that are often indistinguishable from human creations, it makes you question that old way of thinking. It challenges us to rethink what it really means to be creative.
So is AI democratizing creativity then? Making it more accessible to everyone, not just those who are considered naturally talented?
I think you could say that, and I think that's a good thing. It opens up the possibility for more people to be creative, to express themselves, and to explore their own unique perspectives.
It's like AI is expanding the definition of artist to include anyone who uses these tools to make something new and meaningful. But will AI ever be able to truly understand and appreciate art the way humans do? Can a machine really feel the emotions that a painting or a piece of music evokes in us?
That's a deep question. It gets to the heart of the debate about AI consciousness and sentience. Can a machine ever truly feel? Can it grasp those subtle nuances of human emotion that are often woven into art?
Those are questions that will keep philosophers and scientists busy for a long time. But even if AI never develops human-like consciousness, I still think it can teach us a lot about the creative process.
Absolutely. AI can analyze huge amounts of data, identify patterns, and make connections that we might miss as humans. It can help us see art from new angles, understand the techniques, and appreciate the choices that artists make.
So instead of seeing AI as a threat to human creativity, we should embrace it as a powerful tool for exploring, discovering, and understanding.
Exactly. AI can be a partner, a collaborator, a source of inspiration. It can help us push those creative boundaries, explore new horizons, and create a richer, more vibrant cultural landscape. Who knows, maybe in the process, we'll even learn something new about ourselves and what it means to be creative.
I think that's a great place to wrap up. It's been an amazing journey exploring the evolution of human creativity from those early sparks all the way to the incredible possibilities of AI.
It really has. And I want to thank you and all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into creativity.
And to everyone listening out there, remember, creativity is not about reaching some final destination. It's about the journey. So keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep creating.